My view here as a newbie in the shipping industry is that to bring more people knowledge into the industry, I think it could really much benefit shipping industry, because we must remember that the operation is run by humans, and humans perform optimally under the very best circumstances that you get to know if you have people that are educated in how human works.
Welcome to the Shipping Podcast, where I meet interesting maritime professionals sharing their passion for the shipping industry and their everyday job. I am your host. My name is Lena Gosberg. Hello, Shipping Podcast listeners, and welcome to episode 153. I hope you are enjoying the holiday season this year. Soon there will be a new year, and I really look forward to that. Happy new 2021 to everyone. If you are a loyal listener, you know that I'm all for looking at the status quo and changing it. You might also know that I worked in the marine insurance industry for almost 20 years before starting this podcast. I worked as a broker, as an underwriter, and as a country manager. I know my way around the marine insurance industry, to put it mildly, but never in a million years could I have imagined speaking with a loss prevention executive in an insurance company who is also a psychiatrist. Now I have, and you will be able to listen to our conversation. I give you Johanna Kull, who is a loss prevention executive at Alandia Insurance Company. I hope you will enjoy our conversation. Welcome to the Shipping Podcast. Could you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Lena. I am Johanna Kull. I'm sitting here on Åland Island, actually at Alandia's office today, where I work to get internet stability. That's not always that good when you're using your mobile phone internet. I work at Alandia, the marine insurance company that has its headquarters here at Mariehamn, and also has offices in Stockholm and Helsinki, and actually in Göteborg.
May I ask, for people who doesn't know, where is Åland situated?
Yeah, it's a little island, or multiple islands actually, that is located between Finland and Sweden.
In the Baltic Sea.
Yeah, and I think it's also it's impossible to not know anything about shipping when you live here, because I think I don't have the numbers, but a lot of people here are working on sea.
I can understand that. You're on an island.
Yeah, exactly. And also you are grown up with the sea and boats. So I think of when I was little, I always took the boat to the city when I was a teenager, going out and took the bike on the boat and went to the city. I don't know if that's so usual for mainland people. I don't know.
Probably not. What is your background, Johanna?
I have a background in behavioral science, so I always been interested in people and people performance and communication between people. So I went to the Mälardalens University to study behavioral science, and that education is basically divided in psychology, sociology, and pedagogics, and also, as I said, interested in people. So I went further and also took a master in psychology. So that's my background. And also, I'm fairly new to this industry. I came here and started working at Alandia 1 year ago.
I see. And what do you do at Alandia? What is your responsibility there?
I'm working at Loss Prevention, and I find it very interesting. And I very much enjoy being on your podcast today because I find the shipping industry very interesting, and seeing it from of course loss prevention perspective, I find very much use for my knowledge in humans, and of course using it on the loss prevention. We are two people working on loss prevention at Alandia. It's me with with the human perspective, and I also have Marty here that I work with that is a captain. So I find that the best way to work, to have different perspectives when you're looking at risks and so on, because you do it a lot better when you have different perspectives.
How did you end up in the shipping industry? How come that you started in the maritime world?
I was finishing up my studies. I have also lived in the archipelago, the northern archipelago earlier, and going on a on a small passenger vessels was something I did daily. And I think, as I said, growing up here, you see shipping every day, and I find it interesting. And when I saw the ad that they were looking for a new loss prevention executive, I saw it as solving a lot of complex problem, actually, like Sudoku. I don't know if you know what that is. So I thought, oh, that's really interesting. I have to try out this, and I have enjoyed it very much.
What did you think when you entered the industry? I mean, it's probably not that common to have a master in psychology to work in the maritime industry.
No, it's not. Unfortunately, not, I would say, because I think that was kind of interesting that shipping, of course, like every other high risk occupation, is depending on people, and it is depending on people performance. So we see that there are humans running the operation, but there are not a lot of behavioral scientists or psychologists in this business. I think like bigger shipping companies like Maersk and so on, they have some psychologists there. So, but it's not a lot of them in the shipping companies, and I think the shipping industry would benefit very much from having more people that know something about human performance.
So, what do you think you could contribute with? Why should we get more psychologists into this industry?
Of course, there are many everyday psychologists out there working on board, living and breathing on sea, and I think they are doing very well. But I see also that we have a lot of systems in shipping, and I don't think the way that people work always is so beneficial for the people, because you can have, and there are people out there with very much skills and they are very good at what they are doing, but you can't think that people could do great in every situation and in every system. You have to have system that back up the people performance to do the right thing. There are many great people out there that can't do their best and do their optimal performance because there are systems that doesn't fit the human performance. And that could also be, it's not just the systems, it's also how you do in groups and the culture on board, if that supports you. And because people are social beings, and if you don't have a group that support your performance, you are not going to perform your best. So we're living in a complex world, and of course there are many factors out there that is affecting us and what we do. But I think you have to know the factors to do the best out of your people. And not just, of course, from a loss prevention perspectives. I'm talking a lot about risks, but it's not just about the risks. It's also about the whole profitability, because when people can do the best of themselves, you are going to have excellent operation, and it's efficient and works very well when your people are performing well.
So give me an example of something that you think that we need to change when it comes to systems.
When it comes to systems, I think there are very small things out there. I saw that you also talked to Cecilia Osterman, and I think she gave a great examples. It's about the small things that if you are working on, let's say, a kitchen on board, and it's not the stuff that you're working with is not in the place, you have to run forward and backwards and so on to get the stuff and so on. Instead of somebody asking the question of how would you like to have it in place? And I think it was someone also that said that she don't mind working hard, but she don't want to work in a stupid way. And I think that's excellent, because it's describing it very well. It's about the small things.
So you are talking about the working environment now. I thought you were thinking about systems that we use or something like that, but you're talking about working environment.
Yeah, it's also because it's many different things. It's about the working environment, but also, as I said, the culture and the group dynamics, and that is also a system. I think many people are thinking about like ECDIS and the systems on board when you're talking about system, but I'm thinking more about the systems or that we do systematically, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
Because you can work with culture on board. That's something you could do regularly and should do, and you are doing it regularly without thinking about it. And of course, leadership is also something that is always affecting culture and system, because even if you want it or not, you are systematically doing something that is affecting the groups and the whole company.
Mm. So what is your view on the leadership in the maritime industry?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, okay, in many companies, it's great because you see that you have to lead in a way you want your workers to do. But in many companies, it's also some kind of old culture, maybe, to see the leadership as I don't know, that they don't communicate maybe a lot. And it's much also depending on one person. So you're counting on the leader to be the person that you can always count with, right? That should always be the best to perform and so on. And of course, often it works very well, but it's also a huge risk, because depending on one people to operate, let's say, a vessel, it's a huge risk, because you don't using all the forces, you don't using all the performance of the people on board. So I think there are some industries that also is a high risk occupation that might have come a little bit further with this. And I think shipping can also, and you are talking about that a lot, right? To also look at other industry and be diverse in that thinking. So I think we can learn also from aviation, for example, where you have really seen that communication is important.
I can now picture all my listeners who are not the young generation screaming at you, saying that there can only be one captain on the ship. There is only one person who can decide things. Otherwise, there will be mutiny. So what is your view on that?
Yeah, as I said, I think we could change a lot. And I have met by now in a year many captains. I am working with one daily. And I know there are a lot perspective on this. But that one that you have always done it this way, I know it have worked for very many people, but I also know that when you open up for learning from others, I don't say everything is is right that younger generation brings, but I think there are a lot to learn. But it's not just that the younger generation can learn from the elders. I think it's also that younger can learn from older because they have a lot of experience that maybe is not out there to get today, and it's very important that we learn from each other. It's not just that one person has all the right insights, I think, and that's what communication is about, also learning from each other.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I'm just provoking you a little bit because
That's good.
I know all the arguments that I always get, so why shouldn't I put them on you?
I think you should. It's good to argument.
Loss prevention, that is to trying to avoid collisions and all of that. So are you offering your clients like bridge management training and things like that, or?
Yeah, we have directly customer projects in specific things, of course, to see, okay, what do you want to improve and how can we reach that target and so on. So yeah, we are doing that. We are also looking at trends and, okay, where do we see the risks? And maybe the most important thing, what is the source of the risk? Why why is this risk? And I think that's not an easy one because it's a complex world depending a lot of things. But of course, from my perspective, looking at the humans, how can we support them? How can we make people perform the best to avoid a lot of risks?
So what do the clients say to you when you come to them and say, hey, look, there is a culture here on this one that maybe you should change? Do they listen to you, or do they think that, oh my God, this is just a young psychologist who is trying to make me change my mind?
I have not seen that yet, but maybe they don't say that to me.
That could be.
Actually, because many people, and also I think I have heard it a lot that there are many that don't want to change. They don't see the humans, but I haven't met those people yet.
Lucky you. Okay.
No, not when you have, you see that, okay, you have had a lot of things going on here, a lot of incidents and maybe some really bad stuff, and you want to change because you see that you can't go on like this. And I think then you need to be open to culture and so on. And hopefully, I hope that at least that the more time goes on, the more we could see that, we have a lot of examples here that have worked with their culture and seen that the people in the organization is the most important value of the organization, and have actually changed not just the risks but also their profitability.
Yeah, that is usually language that big ship owners understand.
Yes, but it goes hand in hand. So
because it's a risk, and if you can't carry the risk, then there is another problem. So
exactly.
But now we are entering into this era of digitalization. I think we are actually. 5 years ago when I started the podcast, it was like, no, nothing. That will not happen. But even the maritime industry has to try and jump on the train of the industry revolution 4.0. And what do you think about that? Because I can see so many things that could be supportive to the people on board. Systems, as I call systems, digital systems and navigational help and all of that. How do you see that as a psychologist?
Yeah, I think it's very exciting and see what the future brings. And as I have seen this unfortunate pandemic, of course, but it has brought a lot of future thoughts into digitalization and that we have to improve and so on. So I find it very good. I think, of course, that the digitalization will have to also change the dynamics in people and how they do their work and so on. And what I can see from a psychological perspective is that more and more is not about the work in itself, it's about decision making when we are talking about digitalization. And basically, of course, it's the same thing that you have to perform. Maybe not be in your physically best shape, but be in your mental and brain best shape when you're making decisions.
Yeah.
Of course, that also goes hand in hand.
Yeah, of course. I remember when I started the podcast, as I said, 5 years ago, I always asked everyone, what do you think about autonomous ships? And that was a deal breaker because the younger generation said, yeah, when does it come? When can we test it out? And the elderly generation of captains said, no, that will never, ever happen, never. And now it's like starting to happening.
Yeah, it is.
So that was my view of a short and very narrow little interviewing people that what they answered to me. But it was very clear that was a generational thing.
Yeah, it could be.
So how do you think about that when I mean introducing new things to people? Is that a special way you should do that, or are we missing out on the psychological view on how to do this? Or
That's really interesting and a really good question. This might not come from research, but my own experiences, that if you see that you could help a person or a company, but you don't know how to reach out with that, that you have to change, I think it's better to listen to the person that comes to you and really see, okay, what is the perspective of this person? What problems do this person see? And maybe you could find a connection there, what you see, and you can talk the same language. Because I see a lot of miscommunication when you're actually talking about the same thing, but from different perspectives. Because often people are worried about the same thing. They just talking about different things. If you are a more practical person, you might talking about the practical things. And if you are more about the academics and the reading and the science and so on, you could talk about the same thing, but from a different direction. So to talk from the other person's perspective and listen to what that person really mean, often when I do that, I find out that, okay, but it's the same thing that we are talking about, but the person see it from another perspective.
I also think it's very important how we use the words, because words get a meaning.
Yeah.
Usually it means different to every person. But I mean, when we first started to talk about autonomous ships, everyone thought that we were talking about unmanned ships. But that is not the same.
No.
I think we have ourselves to blame because we were not very clear on what we were meaning.
Exactly.
And moving forward, now I think that more people understand that there is a difference between autonomous ships and unmanned ships. And it's unmanned ships is not what we're talking about right now.
No.
Because there are different steps until you reach that level of safety that you could actually have unmanned ships.
And also because I think you can see it from so many different perspectives here. I'm thinking about the digitalization and autonomous ships as actually relieve some kind of I don't know, to help people, so to support people to do their daily work easier. But of course, you have to be humble also with people that don't see this change as a success, because they come from a background that they are looking from it from a different perspective, and it's very important to also listen to that and not go into the change with with full speed without listening to those people, because those people that can also say that, okay, but have you think about this? It's very important to listen to that people, because that could be a game changer.
Yeah, I totally agree. So you approached me and wanted to be on the guest on the podcast.
Of course. How could I not?
Why did you do that?
Because you never had a behavioral scientist on your podcast. I hopefully could bring something new to the table. I very much hope I have succeeded with that. My view here as a newbie in the shipping industry is that to bring more people knowledge into the industry, I think it could really much benefit shipping industry, because we must remember that the operation is run by humans, and humans perform optimally under the very best circumstances that you get to know if you have people that are educated in how human works.
But it brings me to my favorite question. How do you think that the maritime industry could become more visible to the general public? How can we communicate to get more interest in what we are doing?
I think you're doing a very great job, Lena.
Thank you.
I think about the spreading awareness exactly like you are doing. And I also think about what we talked before we started to recording this podcast, that you choose what you want to hear a lot, because you choose the forums and the person that you know you want to listen to. And I think the more we can reach those persons that not by heart choose to listen, I think that could succeed. But it's also about maybe meeting up there and listen, okay, but what are those people that we need in the industry, and that we want to raise the shipping profile to? What do they seek for? What do they want to have? And meeting somewhere halfway, maybe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think we need to find out where they hang out.
Yeah.
And we will have to go there and not sit and wait for them to come and see us.
Exactly. I think so. You succeeded in bringing me here, and I really much enjoy this industry. So I think a lot more people from different backgrounds could do a great work in this industry.
But the interesting thing is that when I set out to actually promote the maritime industry to people outside who doesn't know anything, because we have a tendency to speak to each other. We know everything about this and we love this industry.
Yeah.
But we hardly ever speak to people outside, unless you're in a dinner party and people ask you what you are doing, and then they look like a question mark when you tell them. But I have realized when I look at the statistics of where this podcast is downloaded and listened to, that is in the maritime hubs around the world. So it's the maritime industry listening on what other people do in the maritime industry, which is interesting. And it means that I have to change my view on who to bring on to the podcast, because now I have to bring on guests who who I think that the maritime industry should listen to, and not only people within the industry, because, the perspective has changed.
And I think that speaks a lot why you did let me into this podcast, because I have not a lot of shipping experience, and being in this also shipping marine insurance industry for 1 year. I mean, I come from another perspective, and just that you let me in here to speak today, I think that is great, and hopefully it's not just behavioral scientists and psychologists that could do a lot of great work in the shipping industry. I think we could benefit from just more diverse backgrounds and educations and so on, to learn from each other. And also, I think other industries could learn from shipping industry.
Yeah, definitely. We have so much to offer. But I can't really see anyone who is offering that to other industries, which is a little bit stupid, I think. But then again, I think we have our plate full at the moment to try and survive as every other industry, but maybe moving forward. I mean, now is the time when we are deciding what the new reality will be looking like.
Yes, we are.
So it's a momentum now. We can just decide where we want to go from here.
Yeah, we can. And I know we haven't talked about the pandemic yet in this podcast, but I want to say that I know this pandemic has been hard and a humanitarian crisis, of course, but I think when we are in the same boat, everybody on the whole planet, it has also brought a lot of compassion in people, and a lot of awareness, seeking out and see, can we help each other more? And I think that could be a great lesson for the future, maybe.
Yeah, and the shipping industry is still delivering. Just keep delivering, which is all cred to the seafarers, and especially the seafarers that are stuck on board.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think they are doing great under the circumstances, and of course, looking at mental health, looking at performance, this is the worst time ever. But we have also seen what a capacity there is in humans, what they can do. Hopefully, of course, the future will lighten up, and that they could have a greater circumstances to work in.
Did you have a role model growing up?
Maybe I had a lot of them. I took a little bit here and there and choose the best from every person I met. I think I didn't have just one person. I had a lot of different qualities in a lot of person that I thought, oh, that was great.
I think it's important. And now in times of crisis, I think we need the leadership and role models to look up to and to help us out of this situation that we are in right now.
Yes, and talking about leadership, this is a time where really great leadership matters a lot. So to all leaders out there who is listening, this is really, really important.
It's the time to step up.
Yes, it is.
And that is why I'm asking about role models, because I want people to tell me what the role model is and if they had any.
Yeah, I think there are so many different qualities in role model, and I think you could learn by just listening at other person and just think about, what do you think is great? What have you experienced that was really great with this other person, and that you want to be and act like that person?
Who do you think I should interview the next? Who would you be interested in listening to in the shipping podcast?
Oh, I think you have had a lot of great guests so far. Maybe, of course, I said it's good to hear about other industry and so on. But I really enjoy the person that you talk to that is really in their business, doing their job, and could talk from their perspectives about what they are doing. So I can't say any name or any person, but just doing what you are doing and keep up the good work. I think you are finding the right persons.
Thank you very much, Johanna. Thank you for taking the time to speak to me. And best of luck with your career as a loss prevention executive. Johanna refers to a previous episode of the Shipping Podcast with Cecilia Osterman, an expert on human behavior. That is number 109. So if you like this episode, I recommend that you go back and listen to that one. And I hope that you know that you can do a search on the website if you're looking for something in particular. Go to shippingpodcast.com and type in a name or a topic that you're interested in. Everything is tagged and you can find a lot of interesting stuff in there. Anyway, I refer to different levels of autonomy when speaking about autonomous ships. There is a scale of autonomy in vehicles, usually categorized in 6 different levels. I will put a link in the show notes if you're interested in looking at that. Finally, I would like to tell you that I'm starting a newsletter for the Shipping Podcast. Every other Friday, there will be a newsletter to those of you who want a little bit more from me. I like to make the newsletter a little bit more personal, so you will see photos and stories from me and where I spend my time. In addition to exclusive updates about the show and a little bit more from behind the scenes, all of it will be in there. The first edition will be released on January the 8th. So from now on, all Fridays are Shipping Podcast Fridays. Hit the subscribe button on the website or on the Facebook page if you want to be kept in the loop. I will leave you and love you with this. I have a newsletter to finalize. So, from me to you, over and out. Thank you for listening to the Shipping Podcast. Don't forget to tell everyone that you meet that there is a Shipping Podcast available and that they should download it and listen to the maritime professionals who are sharing their passion for the shipping industry.